Hola, cage fighting connoisseurs. This is Kid Nate, the one, the only. Wait, that's my guest or my co-host, the one, the only, the inevitable, inevitable. Eugene S. Robinson, author of Fight: Everything You Ever Want to Know About Ass Kicking. We're afraid to get your ass kicked for asking. And
he got it. He got it right.
I got it. Look at the shades.
I've decided that since I do this show so early in the morning, and my eyes make me look like I'm about 70. You can see how tired I am. That I'm going to go rock and roll style on this.
Awesome, very rock and roll. The horn rim, classic look. I'm coming from a construction site. Eugene's coming from a gym. It's the one and only MMA Nation.
You're coming from a construction site.
Next door, the McMansion they're adding stucco to the McMansion now. The modernist nightmare has continued. Where, if any,
I'm very disappointed in you that place still stands.
You know.
Lightning in Texas is a terrible thing, man.
It is.
It is. At any time.
I know, Eugene. My hands are tied. My law-abiding and the public nature of these video casts. I'm afraid it would be a pretty short evidence trail. And the Miz's and their career with the district attorney's office probably can't be having any married to an arsonist.
I'm gonna have to quote 50 Cent here. The DA could play this motherfucking tape in court. I'm gonna kill you. Man, that guy is a poet.
Oh, he is. He's past my day. I gave up on rap, and I never have gone back and re-examined 50 Cent. I went back and I picked up on Jay-Z and Outkast and Eminem, but Eminem didn't hold up. I liked him at the time, but didn't hold up. But 50 Cent's out there when I want to explore.
Well, you know, the problem with Eminem and the problem with a lot of these guys, and this is where Jay-Z has succeeded, where the rest of them have not failed, is they kind of lose track of what they want to write about once the millions start rolling in.
Indeed. Jay-Z was already sort of the emperor criminal mastermind, so it was pretty easy to continue on that track.
Yeah.
I also think that Eminem doesn't vary his flows enough, and that his best songs are pop songs. It's kind of like the problem I have with Nirvana, where it's real catchy and fun at first, but it just isn't meaty and doesn't hold up. And Jay-Z, I felt like Jay-Z was some substantial shit, and the dude can vary his flows unbelievably.
Yeah, he can, but the problem with Jay-Z is the same problem you have with Burning Man. You know?
There's a number of problems with Burning Man. I've never connected it with Jay-Z, though. Make that connection explicit.
Well, what the problem is now, they're saying that this is turning into a master class for the rich and well-heeled, and they even have seminars there on the playa that you have to pay $10,000 to get to. So you realize, you know, pretty much if you're going there and can't afford $10,000, you are fundamentally just a plaything for the rich, or like some other rap guy said, you're a customer. You know.
Indeed,
so
indeed.
you will, anytime that you come into contact with Jay-Z, your wallet's going to be open. He will be richer, you will be poor, and you'll come to the shocking realization that you, my friend, are a customer.
Indeed,
right?
Indeed. Yeah. Yes, and in the 90s it was easier to sell that kind of thing to people because they thought, hey, I'm going to be rich too someday, but no, you're not.
No, so, the whole Barney's thing, he just stumbled. He's like, what? Profiling of Barney's? No, there's not. Every time I go to Barney's, man, they roll out the red carpet for me. I don't know what you're talking about. Exactly.
Oh, Jay-Z. But we are here not to talk about Jay-Z. We're here to talk about Antonio Bigfoot Silva rematching Andre Arlovski at UFC Fight Night. Bigfoot versus Arlovski 2 coming this Saturday night from Brasilia in Brazil. I need to check the time. I believe it's running on Fox Sports 1 at the regular times. Yes. No, it's all UFC Fight Pass. And so
oh, really?
It's all UFC Fight Pass.
I'm going to break loose and get the Fight Pass in. Where is Brasilia?
Brasilia is in the center of Brazil. You don't know about Brasilia?
I just want to know. I want to know where in Brazil it was.
It's in the dead center. It's on the high plateau in the middle. It was a.
That's where all the politicians are living. Says Coach, Dream Coach Leopoldo Serrao.
Indeed, it was a.
He said the bad guys live there as well.
Yes. It's hard to keep the bad guys out, especially if you're going to have the politicians there.
All right, good. So I've said it before, and I've not followed through, but I will get Fight Pass now.
There you go. Time to give Zuffa your credit card number. I think they've gotten a little bit more responsible with their Fight Pass situation. I've heard some complaints recently about people not being able to cancel, but I haven't heard anything about people's data being compromised. It's not like it's Home Depot.
That's like Kung Lee style. Oh, well, there's a $15 cancellation fee, and there's a $30 billing surcharge, and, and there's the redundancy department. Yeah, okay, we got it.
It's just called sound business, Eugene.
Yeah.
Sound business practices. Take every penny they fucking got.
You're a customer.
Yes, indeed. And so the card starts at 5:45 p.m.
We had some guy show up we used to have this underground fight club, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some guy.
You're not supposed to talk about that, Eugene.
It's folded, so it's all right to talk about. So I've broken the first rule. So a guy comes to Underground Fight Club, and he's like talking and shit. He goes, "My dude, I work with this guy who's a black belt in Taekwondo, man. He can kick your." And so it gets out of control. It gets like out of control, and like pretty soon money is being wagered. He goes, "I have a hard time believing that your friend, who's a blue belt, is 5'2", is going to beat this 6'2" Taekwondo guy. I don't believe. I'll bet you $80. We're cheap guys, so $5, $10, $50, $80. So they come down to Fight Club. The guy throws a high kick. My dude, one of Jake Shields' guys, shoots out a low single, takes him down, mounts him. 13 seconds later, the fight is over. And they're like, "Whoa, okay, you won." And they start grabbing their stuff to leave. I go, "Nah, man, where's the money?" They're like, "Ah, ha, ha." I go, "Where's the money, man?" He's like, "Ah, ha." I go, "I'm going to grab you and turn you upside down like in the cartoons. I want that fucking $80. You're not leaving here without it. You're going to have to fight more fights than you already did to get out of here with whatever money you have." Man, this is hard to start with. No. So the guy gave me 220s and said, "I'll give you the rest later." I go, all right. And he did.
He came through. Well, that's good. It's good to hear that the threat of violence imposed some order in an underground economy.
Might makes right, my friend.
Indeed.
Anyway. Yeah.
Anyway, so general care level on this card. I mean, I didn't know when it was. You didn't know where it was. So what's your care level here?
I would, if I were conspiracy minded.
And which, of course.
Yeah, I would say, given the lack of preamble, which of course is a fantasy, there was plenty of preamble, but the lack of preamble here that was directly connected to like Calgon trying to take me away from the Chandra that was last week's fights,
I see. So we're trying to forget the Jacare versus Musasi fight, which was a pretty good fight card, and there was the whole Bellator.
No. See, my conspiracy dead ends tie into my conspiracy highways, and this is my Bellator is really Scott Coker being a mole. Bellator fundamentally will roll itself in like John Lewis's, where the Fight Club meets a nightclub. Will roll itself
crazy time.
Not at all.
Viacom's not playing that. Viacom's a bigger boy than Zuffa is, and Coker's no mole. Coker's no double agent. Come on.
That sounds as credible. Just listen to yourself. That sounds as credible as Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone assassin. It sounds.
I do believe he was alone in the book depository that afternoon.
Yep, he was a patsy.
Yeah, he might very well be. He does fit the profile.
Where was Raul? Where was Jack Valenti? These are things that came up.
Jack Valenti, the head of the MPAA? I don't think he was involved. You thinking of Jack Ruby?
Who used to make porno movies, which is how he knew Jack Ruby.
Now we are getting very interesting. We'll have to hold these revelations for another show. My goodness! But
Mike Golden, investigative journalist, last guy on record to interview James Earl Ray, was the one to tell me about the mysterious Raul. But I'm not going to get into that now.
I see the mysterious Raul. Well,
of course I'll be dead by next week's show. So that's.
Because the CIA is keeping close tabs on our show. Like
at one point I was hanging out with John McLaughlin, who used to be the head of the CIA, and I was like, "This can't be good."
You were hanging out with.
Yes.
What was the context? Was this when you were golfing with Donna Shalala?
No. This is about a month and a half ago.
A month and a half ago.
Yeah.
Were you training him in deadly fighting techniques?
Come by to see me.
Came by to see you at Aussie or what? At your day job? And now the signal breaks up. Look at this.
Oh, you're frozen.
Eugene starts talking about the CIA, and suddenly the signal gets funky. It's like Are they even pretending this is a free country anymore? Come on. So really, conspiracy time. So Stephen Bonner and Justin McCulley attempt to pull off a really bad fight promo, and to you, that spells conspiracy by Scott Coker to undermine Bellator and sell it to the UFC.
Sort of. You're missing a few steps, but Booker is the handmaiden bazoo for your career.
I see. I see. Well, we'll just have to wait and see, Eugene. I thought it was pretty good.
Oh, okay. Here. Let's just put this. I'm just going to give you something to think about now. Okay? 2 words, okay?
All right.
Eddie Alvarez.
Eddie Alvarez, who's headed for the UFC, and Bjorn Rebney already shut
Oh,
that
wow. Wow. Man.
I see. Well, I think Scott Coker knows how to run things with a lighter hand. Remember, 2 words I could give you: Gilbert Melendez, who chose to stay with Coker and Strikeforce back in the day. So let's see what happens when it's a Coker-raised fighter that Coker signed, and see how they choose if they want to stay with Bellator or the UFC.
Who's he going to pick? Is he going to pick Daniel Puder? He's going to pick.
We don't even know who it is. They are in such a deep rebuilding mode. The talent has been so hoovered up by the UFC. Yeah. Bellator has some prospects, and Coker will build relationships with them, but it's a very different game than it was when he was trying to build when he was just capitalizing on a red hot martial arts scene in Northern California.
There's nothing but upside for Coker from the way I'm looking at this as well. Personally, nothing but upside.
Well, if you think he's some kind of conniving double agent, then of course a guy like that's always going to be seeing upside. Are you familiar with the mobster Tony Bender?
You, come on, you guys!
Now you're breaking up again. This is terrible. Do you know the mobster? Am I coming through on some hideous delay here?
No, hold on. I'm gonna
shut down the porn streaming.
Hard white.
Yeah, go into the LAN here.
Hey, why don't you stop? Hold on. Keep talking.
I'm gonna tell the kids about my favorite mafioso double dealer, Tony Bender, aka Anthony Strollo, which is his real name. This was a guy who was a top capo of the Genovese family, and this cat was always working every side of the street until he wasn't. He navigated the Lucky Luciano era. He navigated the Frank Costello era. He navigated the Vito Genovese era. Then, according to legend, he tried to betray Don Vito, and he went away, believed to have been taken away, and put in a garbage truck. So, that's how it is. He was working with.
I always love those. I always love those garbage truck stories.
Indeed. There's a guy, I think his name was Squilanti, who was a garbage truck king.
Yeah.
That might have been involved in that one, but I can't remember his name right now. But I believe that guy came to his end when he went to a dinner party, and all the other guests pulled out butcher knives and had smocks on when he arrived. And but anyway, that's neither here nor there. So
and I told you I don't want to get Donna Shalala, but I told you my favorite all-time scam with the roof of JFK.
Hit me.
Oh, come on. No, you're just saying that because you want to Donna Shalala me.
I will Donna Shalala if necessary, but not if not necessary.
Those guys I knew that ran that shadowy roofing company and got the $2 million contract to re-roof the terminal at JFK, Queens.
This is sounding familiar, but hit me with the punchline. My fading memory is on your side.
So the guys had correctly figured out that that they had no central facilities guy who really gave a shit. So they took this $2 million contract. They figured out where the roof was leaking. They patched the holes in the roof, and then they painted the whole roof black, and then hung out and had sandwiches up there for 2 weeks. They got their $2 million and figured as long as we're out by the next rainy season, we're Jake. So they folded the business, $2 million. How many? $2 million, $2,000 worth of parts and labor. What is the return on that?
That sounds like the kind of return you have to pay taxes to somebody named Guido on.
Or in this case, John.
John, yes.
Mr.
Your connection is killing me, Eugene. All right, let's try to get to the fights. Um, we've got a good lord. We've got 6 fights on the main card, and we've got 5 fights on the undercard. It's all on Fight Pass. So, first up, your general level. I don't think we ever established your general level of care, don't care for this card.
Yeah, well, I care, you know. I mean, it's like a junkie. Like as like somebody says, "Hey, man, we got some pretty bad Mexican heroin that came in. You went there? Yeah, yes."
All right, so you now know what kind of hands you're in. We are not a discerning audience. We are hardcore freaks that are here every weekend wanting to see people punch in the face. First up, bantamweight. How the mighty have fallen. Ronnie Yaya against Johnny Bedford. What is Ronnie Yaya doing opening a Fight Pass card?
You know what? Sometimes messages have to be sent, man.
So what's the message? Win some fights?
The message is, I don't know what the message is, but the message is straighten up and fly right, Jack, because you can't go any lower than this, or maybe you can. Yeah. You know?
It's a rematch of their last fight, which ended in no contest at UFC Fight Night Nogueira versus Nelson in 2014 in Abu Dhabi. I didn't even remember that they had a fight night in Abu Dhabi or that Nogueira fought Nelson. Man, I cannot remember this shit to save my life.
I'm going to quote Joy Division here. I remember nothing.
I remember. That is a wise word. So, do you care?
I care. I care. Mostly I care because I want to know, like, for example, Tim Sylvia. You ever wonder why they went so cold so fast on Tim Sylvia?
Well, because he left the UFC to take a lot of money from Affliction.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
But they've forgiven guys for worse.
Well, plus nobody likes Tim Sylvia. That's just a...
I like Tim Sylvia.
You are a person of unusual taste, Eugene. But I mean...
And Tim Sylvia swooped on me and kept me from making love to the wonderful Amber.
And now you like him for that.
I respect him for it.
I see. So cockblock Eugene and win his undying respect.
You have to beat Tim Sylvia for that to
work. Indeed. All right. So we've got one care. I'll give it a care just because of Ronnie Yaya. He's got some losses going, but you know.
But this is the kind of fight you want to see. A guy like that. That guy he's fighting like his hair's on fire.
Backed into a corner.
Yep.
Could be some exciting grappling. We will see. All right, welterweights, Paulo Thiago versus Sean Spencer.
Yes.
Because Paulo is in the same exact situation. This is a guy who once knocked out Josh Koscheck on a main pay-per-view main card, fought John Fitch.
Yeah.
But, those days are long gone. Do you have a pick in this fight?
I'm going to pick Thiago, man.
Really? The dude is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 and 6 in his last 8 fights.
Yeah, but I like watching his grappling, man.
I see. He's got an interesting judo-based jiu-jitsu style, a little sloppy. I don't know. I don't quite trust Sean Spencer to do it either, but we'll see. All right, up next, Francisco Trinaldo versus Leandro Silva. This is a lightweight bout. Do we care?
I don't care.
I don't care either. All right, welterweights, Igor Araujo versus George Sullivan, and you got to give the disclaimer because we forgot to do that.
Disclaimer is, hey, you crybabies. This is bedwetters. This has got nothing to do with your personality. It has more to do with how much marketing might and heft they put behind you. So this is not on you. It's on Sean Shelby and Joe Silva. And don't take it personally. You know, it just means we haven't noticed you. It doesn't mean you're no good. You feel better?
Very well put. Very well put. And so now say it in Portuguese so some of these fighters will understand what you're talking about. But bump. All right.
Yeah, no, you dropped out in a second there, but it was perfectly amusing what you said, I'm sure.
It was. I challenged you to say it in Portuguese, but anyway. So we don't care about Igor Araujo versus George Sullivan. Is that correct?
That's correct. I don't.
All right. And featherweights, Godofredo Castro.
You know what? The circumstances that we do this show under, these are completely fucking primitive circumstances, and the fact that we of shitty cell phone connections, substandard material to bring you, the viewing public, the best MMA journalism there is, marks us as men above men.
Indeed, or lazy and indifferent and under-resourced. You call it, whatever you want
Well,
to.
there's that too.
Our audience seems to be settling for this, so why improve? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, Godofredo Pepe Castro versus Deshaun Johnson.
I don't care.
I don't care either. Pepe almost sold me, but he hasn't. He's the Ultimate Fighter Brazil guy. Let's see. No, I don't care. I don't care. He's lost most of his UFC fights. That brings us to the big time main card, still on Fight Pass. Women's bantamweight Jessica Andrade versus Larissa Pacheco.
Yes, I care.
Because you're a sexist, as we've been informed by the men's rights advocates that watch our show so fervently, and say Eugene only cares about women because he's a sexist. And now you've gone completely black. Now he's back. He's smiling. He's laughing.
I said I can't talk about why I care.
All right. It's been redacted. But I care because Jessica Andrade, I think, is a pretty tough chick. And
yes.
and I have no reason to dislike her. So I'm
well, you knew what I knew.
I see.
Yeah. No, I'm pulling for Jessica Andrade. I think she's going to take it.
Yeah, I do too. All right, and that brings us to bantamweight Yuri Alcantara versus Russell Doane. This is the smaller of the Alcantara brothers.
Yeah, I care.
Yeah, me too. You got a pick?
I'm Alcantara.
Yeah, me too. I like the Alcantaras. It's hard for me to keep the two of them separate, but the joint personage has seared itself into my memory. So, and he's got a little streak. He's the guy who had the tough fight with Uriah Faber, and then it's 1-2 since. So I had to pick him. All right.
You know my favorite comedic meme. Anytime they bring up Uriah Faber's name,
hit me.
Man, that's a tough chick.
I should have remembered that one. I will Donna Shalala it the next time you bring it up, but it's funny, so maybe I won't.
Yeah.
I told you when I saw it, this is one you should Donna Shalala, but I had
Donna Shalala. I know what you're going to say, but go ahead. I like it anyway.
All right. So he was hitting on the Ring Girls at a regional show in Virginia that I saw him at, and both of them were like a good 6 inches taller than him in their heels, and one of them goes, "Easy, little man," and patted him on the head. It was.
Yeah, but no, that's not the punchline. The punchline is what he did after that.
I think he went home with one of them, but that's really
no, but he wasn't stopped at all.
He wasn't even phased, man. Yeah. No, he still had his arm around both of them, and he just laughed and carried right on, So, yeah, he's got game. He's got game. Do you remember the Kids in the Hall sketch, Cabbage Head? Do you remember Kids in the Hall?
Yeah.
The Cabbage Head was one of my favorite characters.
Anyway. It was either Terry Trebilcock or it was the other cat, King of the Cage, who had his challenge. Man, I never forget Ted Williams or Tony Trebilcock. He showed up with the 300-pound prostitutes. That was great. I actually don't know if they were even prostitutes, but they were. That was like bold.
They looked like working girls. They were.
He was happy. He's 600 pounds of women with him. He was like, yeah.
Man, one of my all-time media finds, a buddy of mine used to be really involved. Remember Access Television in the 90s when people would have, the citizens were supposed to have access to the airwaves. You could go register with your cable TV and go down to the studio and shoot stuff. So a buddy of mine was always down there, always trying to make shows or use the editing equipment. And somehow one of the other guys there gave him this tape that somebody else had made or edited there. And it was a promo reel for a big, bold, and beautiful escort service that was 20 minutes of unbelievable depravity. There was no sexual content, no explicit sexual content, but it was like 3 creeps and 3 big fat hookers dancing around and having a party, and like the whole scenario was like this creepy sort of seedy frat boy almost type and this redneck guy on a couch. And the guy's like, "Hey, let's go downtown and pick some girls." And the other guy's like, "Hey, man, let's order in." And then he names the big, bold, and beautiful escort service, and he calls them in. And then they're dancing around, and like one of the three dudes was so shit-faced that like they traded partners at one time, and he just kind of zombied onto the back of one of the other dudes. It was like, oh man, I mean,
that was an accident.
this guy was so
Hey man,
patently
that was
shit-faced.
no accident, man.
Maybe these were long, unspoken desires. I don't know. I think the guy was a zombie. Someday I'm gonna unearth that footage and put it on YouTube because it was unbelievable. This was back in the '90s video trading days. Anyway,
a friend of mine, when he heard that I was hanging out with porn stars because the articles I've read, he was like, "Hey man," and he's like trying to buy in. You know, he's like, "I want to come hang out with you." I'm like, "Nah." I learned from my male porn star friends. Any guy who wants to come along has got to bring somebody. You know, you can't. You know, dudes, you can't come in here empty-handed. So they were like, he's like, "Okay, I got somebody." I go, "Who?" "Well, she's in a series." I go, "Oh, cool. What series?" He goes, "Old Plumpers."
But was she the star? Did you ask if she had top billing?
Oh, I looked her up, man, and I was like, "Hey, man.
Old Plumpers.
Old Plumpers."
Man,
Come
that's
on.
something you'd be proud to have on your mom's CV, isn't it? Like, hey, you guys see my mom was in Old Plumpers #3?
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh,
just
my
sad.
God. But anyway.
Fallen world. All right.
Yeah.
Here's the guy that bloggers love to hate. Your friend, Darren Yananama, was just cut yesterday, and
Oh!
yes, and bloggers around the MMA world celebrated because that was a hell of a name to spell. I have to. It's cruel, but that's just the reality.
I know the guy and I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, I mean, and then like I'm gleefully butchering his name on the pronunciation, but I do like to spell
I finally
things
got
right.
it. It's Uyenoyoma.
Try it again.
Uyenoyoma.
Yanoma. That's not too bad. All right, but here's the guy that bloggers really have in the crosshairs: Santiago Ponzinibbio
Oh yeah.
versus Wendell Oliveira. So
Yeah.
I get
Hold
this.
on, why did Darren's name come up there? Why did you just mention that?
Just because we lost one guy, we got rid of one guy whose name was hard to spell, and yet the bigger menace, Ponzinibbio, is still around. His name.
You know, I love Darren for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is that when he was rolling with people and would get them in a compromising position, he would start making fuck noises. He didn't care where he was or who he was training with. But if he took your back or somehow got the drop on you on the mat, you'd be like, yeah. That was, it was classic insult to injury, man. I thought it was actually pretty hilarious, though he never did it to me.
I see. I think some of our more feminist-minded readers might want to educate you that sort of thing's demeaning to women and something domestic violence.
What are you talking about? That's a lunatic stretch, man.
Is that not like? Haven't you heard people complaining about John Jones telling Daniel Cormier he's going to make him his bitch?
Yeah, I didn't say a bitch. I just said he was making the wonderful, inimitable sounds of love.
I see some love-making noises that imply that the other person is in a passive sexual capacity.
Hey, you're taking that jump, Jack. He could have been just going by two men manly sharing with each other. I was actually online between some at the supermarket the other day, and the checker starts talking to these two guys. He looks at the guy's driver's license because they're buying alcohol. He goes, you're from Florida? The guy goes, yeah. He goes, well, I used to visit there a lot. And they start having this conversation, and the guys who were like buying the liquor were like, oh, yes, we love Key West, and then he's like, where else have you been? He's like, Mykonos, Fire Island, and the guy doing the checking is not getting any of this. And I'm like, hey, you should help them out to the car with their groceries, man, because you guys are about to have a fucking party, and you just don't know it yet,
Maybe there were some unknown desires there that you could.
West Hollywood, Mykonos, Fire Island, Key West. These are great vacation spots, man.
Yeah. That's there's a certain demo that just loves those places. So anyway, neither of us care about Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Wendell Oliveira. Is this correct?
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either. All right, lightweights.
I think I need to back up here just for a second. You
Wind it
know,
back. Wind it back.
just a second. Because you loaded on two things that might lead people to believe that
Oh,
I've
so
got.
you're somehow insulted that somebody might think, hey, Eugene's enjoyed many a relaxing weekend on Fire Island with his
No,
friends.
I would have said I'm perfectly comfortable with hanging out on Fire Island if it should come to it. That's what I'm saying.
I see. Just because well, that's good. Bully
No,
for you.
actually, Oxbow played at this leather bar called the Eagle in San Francisco, right? And
Uh-huh.
they have rock nights on Thursday. So we play at this leather bar, and I'm like, we've driven guys out of there before. Like guys like look at me on stage, what's this guy's problem? I take my pants off. The guy was like, I've had enough of this guy. I was like, man, I'm clearing out a gay bar. What does this say? You know, what? How? I need to lose some weight, something. So I'm in the bar, like we're about to play, or maybe we just finished playing, and some dude sidles up to the bar, and I'm like, oh shit, it's Jeff Monson. And I go, oh, and he sees me like do this double take, and I go, hey man, I'm sorry, you look just like Jeff Monson. And the guy's really standoffish. I'm like, do you follow MMA? He's like, oh, no. I said, man, you like this. If you had the tattoos, you got tattoos. He's like, I got a few. So now you should look them up online because you're looking like, I go, fuck man, why is this guy so standoffish? We are in a gay bar, and I was like, oh yeah, we're in a gay bar. That's why he's standoffish. I am not having sex with you, nearly naked Negro. Because I just realized we had just finished playing, and I was like, had no pants on, and I'm at the bar, just
Probably
drinking up
covered in
that
sweat.
Yeah, exactly.
I hold it does change the stakes when people think there might be intrigue or the lack of or interest on one side and they're not reciprocating. They're trying to
I was
communicate.
disappointed. I was like, hey, man, I'm just talking to you. What the hell?
Yep, yep. Well, those kind of miscommunications, the basis of all situational comedy. But all right, back on track. Lightweights: Leonardo Santos and Efren Escudero, former Ultimate Fighter winner.
I care.
You care because
Santos. Well, because I'm working on a theory about Ultimate Fighter winners, so I do care.
I see. And what is this theory?
I'm gonna wait a bit.
I see two top secret to be revealed. He can reveal his conspiracy that Scott Coker is a Zuffa double agent working inside Bellator.
No, I don't want to come out of pocket with anything half baked.
Of course not. Of course not. Because that Coker theory,
that's solid. I've been working on that for weeks.
Entire minutes of research and thought went into the phrase.
I woke up out of a cold sweat. Scott Coker.
Dreaming about Justin McCulley in a mask, and then he woke up in a cold sweat. Yeah. For my money, I was like, "What the fuck are these idiots doing?" And then when they reveal the dude with the dreadlocks, I'm like, "Who is that? Who is that?" And I had to look on Twitter and Justin McCulley. Who the fuck was that? I mean, I remember the name, sort of recognized the face, and then I had to go look him up.
Well, I personally, that story, like I said, just made me depressed. But what I love though this past week so far has been Joe Rogan touching the third rail of MMA politics. The possibility. John, say it.
The fans would like John Jones better if he was white.
Yeah.
I think that there's a certain element of truth to that, but I think it's in line behind a number of other factors. One, they'd like him better if he would own up to being an asshole.
He's already doing that.
He's beginning to, but he's not going the whole way. I'm hearing his managers looking around to reporters trying to get the real story out and stuff instead of like,
Well, I found it when I interviewed him, I found it perfectly engaging, man.
Well, I
think
of course. Perfectly capable of being perfectly pleasant when he chooses to be, but I think that the whole sanctimonious, he probably wasn't talking about Jesus the whole time you were talking with him, was he?
No, he was not. Yeah, but I have to tell you, that's also my new favorite meme too.
Which?
With all due respect thing. with all due respect, that motherfucker can eat my shit. With all due respect.
Yes, that is a classic. That is a rapidly becoming a classic. Yeah. But, okay, so there's the racism angle, but there's also the fact that he tried to pitch himself as this clean-cut Christian, all-American, super nice guy, and
Hey, man, Vita Belfort got caught in a hotel room with a transvestite prostitute, and people bounced back from that.
hey, people like transvestite prostitutes. There's no,
Me too.
it's the Christian thing that pretending to be Christian thing that, or talking about being a Christian, not acting like a Christian, that people get tired of. But then I think a bigger factor was Dana White putting his biggest, loudest megaphone on, going to a press conference and calling John Jones a sport killer.
Yeah,
Like, that's the real reason for the UFC to now, through Rogan, start pushing this meme that, come on, guys, you should feel guilty for not liking this poor black kid because at some level you're being racist here. It's like, no, dude, you told us the guy was a sport killer. You told us guy is an asshole, don't like him, and now that it's costing you money, belatedly they realize, maybe we shouldn't have poisoned our most promising athlete.
Except that they were going to be smarter about it, they never would have fucking raised the specter of the possibility that if it was racism, because now it gets calcified into an us versus them type thing, and there is no hope of cross pollination at this point. But I mean, one of the things that I like that I said early on ad nauseum that nobody could stop me from saying, and I defended it to the end of time, and I loved it as a way to understand the sport. I said, MMA will destroy boxing because MMA is a sport in which white dudes are competitive. It's a combat sport in which white dudes are competitive, and you can't say that about boxing for a number of reasons anymore. Moms are not taking their fucking 7-year-old kids to boxing gyms in any other place other than Southie, Dorchester. They're not.
That's presuming that Russians are not white people. Is that your argument?
Yeah, but still, how many Russian? Look, so who was it? When I interviewed Phil Anselmo, he said he's the one who said if the Klitschko's were American, they would be unstoppable. So even inside the fence boxing fans are making the claim that the fact that they're Eastern European is not helping the cause. They are not processed as great white hopes. So no, sorry.
No. American white guys don't identify with Russian white guys as a rule. They see the big enemy there. They're used to fighting alongside black guys against Russian guys. So it's
yeah. My sister is actually doing some shows in Russia right now. So
have you heard about the Klan trying to recruit black people against Hispanics recently?
No, I haven't heard this.
I thought that was, in a sick, sad way, that's like a sign of progress, isn't it? The kid melting another nugget in there. Like they're in Long Island, they're openly trying to recruit Catholics and Jews into the Klan, which usually that was the whole reason you had a Klan, was to keep the Catholics and the Jews out. But the threat of illegal immigrants, or whatever they want to call them. I believe it's not politically correct to use the term illegal immigrant, but to say Hispanic citizens and non-citizens is what they're trying to keep out.
Or Latinos,
Hispanic, but even Latino you can get in trouble with because some Hispanics don't want to be called Latino. It gets real.
Well, I've heard you get in trouble with Hispanics, so I've just gone to generic Latino.
Yeah, you can. It's a minefield, and I should have wandered into it. But anyway, I just wanted to get that funny.
Well, that's a strange bedfellow story that I always like the rat lines after World War II. When the Nazis were helped by the soon-to-be Israeli gangs to escape from Nazi Germany, in exchange for which their military know-how was to be pulled into play to help the Haggadah and the Haganah fight the Brits to free British Palestine from their grasp and turn it into Israel. So this was really one of the wildest cases of strange bedfellows that I'd ever seen. Israelis would make common cause with escaping Nazis to fight the Brits.
I know that is the twisted bedfellows, and then that's where you get some people saying the Zionist Nazi link goes back. I mean, it comes from similar nationalist roots, but anyway,
which is garbage, but whatever.
Well, I mean, some say. I'm just saying. Some say.
With all due respect.
With all due respect. We're not going to get into the Gaza situation again. All right. So lightweights: Gleason Tebow versus Peter Hallman.
Yes, I care.
You care, and do you have a pick?
I'm going to pick Tebow, but I'm confused. I'm confused about why they love that guy so much. I mean, I like T-Bow too,
He
but
shows
I'm
up,
not. Yeah, yeah,
and he
yeah.
makes weight, despite the fact that that's a monumental feat for him.
Yeah, like, well, you know what? I mean, I'm still sort of scratching my head about the Joe Lazon thing.
What about Joe Lozon?
What's the record that Joe Lazon holds now?
Joe Lozon's UFC, he holds the record for the most bonuses
How'd that happen?
because he showed up and he
You
kicked
know
ass.
what? For a period of time, you know who the number one, who the actor in Hollywood who made more money than any other actor in Hollywood for like a steady 5 years, half a decade. You know who that was?
Jack Nicholson.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't doubt it. He had a
Dollar
hot
for
streak.
dollar. And that was one of those things when I heard that, I was like, how'd that happen? And I go, oh, I guess Terminator 1, Terminator 2, I guess,
Terminator 3. Don't forget Kids or whatever it was.
True Lies, Kindergarten Cop. I go, oh,
Kindergarten
okay.
Cop. Yeah, future governor of California right there. Oh, did you see the news about my ex-boss Matthew Dowd having an affair with Maria Shriver? And now that was some underhanded, low-down shit right there. And Matthew, with all due respect, is the most hypocritical jagbag I have ever personally met. He's a lovely guy to work with and brilliant interpreter of polls, but as far as principles, none. Ethics.
Well, this is if you were in the bodybuilding community, none of this shit was news. I was hearing this 18 years ago, man.
But Shriver's a Kennedy. Who's ever linked the Kennedys to sexual impropriety? But
well, I was,
the Kennedy women. I mean, the Kennedy women are supposed to be pure as driven snow, Eugene.
Actually, I heard this like 20 years ago when I was working out at Venice Golds. The guys were like, yeah. And the first thought in my mind was, I got to get into the house. I was about get myself in Maria's good graces. If I could have a glass of lemonade, something over at the house where Arnold's out,
I see. Well, Matthew Dowd apparently, allegedly, according to reports and all over the media, did more than ask for a glass of lemonade. So.
Well, that's how many. I'm close. How many degrees of separation is that, right? Now I'm like, you, Matthew, her. Boom, I'm there.
Boom, boom. That's right. So, yeah. Not like he's returning my phone calls. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So what did that have to do? What did Joe Lozon and that whole digression have to do with Gleason Tebow?
That is just he's surprisingly durable. It's like, what, that guy again?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because he's been fighting unbroken with the UFC since 2007, and it goes win, loss, loss, win, win, loss, win, win, loss, win, 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 loss, win, loss, win, win, loss, win. He keeps bringing the wins. He gets the losses in there just enough so he never rises above gatekeeper status. Yeah. But he wins enough so he's never in trouble being cut. I mean, the guy is a perfect gatekeeper. He shows up. He's not expensive. He doesn't cause any trouble. There's no arrests. There's no scandals. He makes weight. He does his job, Eugene.
Yeah. I guess you're right.
Yeah. So
I like the guy. I'm not having a problem with this. I like.
He's not the most thrilling fighter. I mean, the most exciting technique in his repertoire is a nice double leg takedown.
Yep.
But
which is nice to see always, but
Yeah. But he also has a lot of clinch and hug and mug up there. And so anyway, I'm picking him.
You like him, but you don't like Francis Carmont.
Man, Francis Carmont's on a 3-fight losing streak, and here's the difference. Gleason Tebow doesn't.
It's like slowly I turned.
It doesn't look like you started me. You said Carmont. You said the words.
I know. I'm regretting it now.
Tebow does not look like he should be a good kickboxer. Francis Carmont has all the tropes of a kick-ass kickboxer.
Oh my God, you're sputtering. You're like, all right.
I expect Tebow to be boring. It's built in. It's the investors are expecting it. All right, that brings us to the main event: Antonio Bigfoot Silva versus Andre Arlovski. But first, we've forgotten something really important. The fans of the show are bitter, and they're wondering about when's Hitchcock going to walk across the stage. Eugene, you haven't mentioned Nazis for the entire
I
episode.
did.
When?
I did.
When?
The rat lines.
You did. My bad.
See,
My bad.
come
Well, that's
on.
because you
Well, you
didn't
even
mention.
paying attention? What's happening?
I did pay attention, and in fact, I should have Donna Shalele that story because you tell it all the time. But you didn't mention Joseph Goebbels, who's my Nazi du jour. So that's why. I was watching. Have you seen the documentary where Kenneth Branagh reads Joseph Goebbels' diaries?
Yeah, I just saw this on Netflix the other day and was almost going to watch it, but I couldn't convince you that this was a good night of evening entertainment.
I watched half of it last night, and man, like that Goebbels, what a shitbag. But it makes me. I need to reread The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich because he references numerous points where like Himmler is plotting against him, or the whole gang is plotting against Goering, but they never like connect the dots, because you don't have time in a film medium to get the whole conspiracy going. And so I need to refresh myself on how it was that Goebbels survived the fall of the SA and how he and Himmler worked out the. I mean, I don't know. Somehow they came to terms because they both made it all the way to the end of the Reich. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I have on my bookshelf one of his. He was a fiction writer.
Yes, failed writer. That was the famous Time Life books tagline.
Yeah, do you have his book was called Michael.
Michael. Was it a
Romana Clef, Michael.
I see. Have you read it?
I have actually read it. It's not great, but it's much like Hitler's painting.
Which is pretty tedious and mediocre.
No, it's not. It's just, I mean, it's a great painting for a head of state. It's much better than George Bush's stuff, but it's like, there's a reason he didn't get into fucking art school,
It's true. There's a reason Goebbels didn't make it as an actor. Here's the thing, though. I start doing a Goebbels impression around the house, and my wife takes offense because I'm limping, and she thinks that's mocking the handicap. It's like, how do you do a Goebbels impression without limping? Is that?
Well, if you've been exposed to him at all, most of the shots are him at a podium imitating Hitler, so you don't really get to see him walk that much. So the fact that you're limping when you do him, you're using outside information. They
had newsreel footage of him limping in the documentary I watched.
Yeah, but much less than you ever see him at a podium in Nuremberg. I went to the parade grounds in Nuremberg. And I think and I actually have photos of me standing where Hitler stood when he was giving his speeches. And what that did when I went there was it gave me oodles more of respect for Leni Riefenstahl because
the filmmaker made Triumph of the Will.
Yeah, because that looked really Brobdingnagian.
A pretty Jonathan Swift reference there. The giant people of Gulliver's Travels, as opposed to Lilliputian. Did I lose you? We seem to have lost Eugene. Classic care don't care here because we haven't got to the main event. Come on, Eugene, come back. We've got Bigfoot Silva fighting Andre Arlovski in a fight. Honestly, I don't really care about because I saw this once before and it was a 3-round decision that didn't go anywhere. Eugene, is he coming back? Is he coming back? Do I have Eugene? And we're not sure. I apologize. I apologize to our viewers. No, I don't. If you made it this far in the show, I mean, you're a fucking degenerate bath salt face eater. I mean, no, I love you. I kid, but the Bigfoot Silva Andre Arlovski fight, my God, why did they book this shit show? I mean, Arlovski was terrible in his return to the UFC. His last fight was unspeakably awful. I think he fought Brendan Schaub. Neither guy brought it. And then Bigfoot Silva will bring it, but not in a spectacularly entertaining fashion, and so it's just a hassle. So Eugene's gym has let us down. The connection seems to have, maybe it was too much talk about Nazis and the CIA and Eugene's secret conspiracy theories unraveling everything. So I'm going to keep talking for another couple minutes because I really want to know if he cares or doesn't care about Antonio Bigfoot Silva versus Andre Arlovski, and I want to get his response to my not caring. Hey, there you are. There we are. I've been filling the airtime valiantly, Eugene.
Very nice.
Goebbels would have been proud. What? But bunk.
Were you doing an imitation of
I
me
got
marching
up and I was
around?
hobbling around with, like I had a club foot. No, I wasn't. But the other book I just finished, The Nightmare Years by William Shirer, author of Rise and
Yeah.
Fall of the Third Reich. And you know what was interesting to me as a sort of media guy? That book is really an account of Shearer and Edward R. Murrow inventing radio and broadcast news.
Yeah. Yeah. That you're right about that. You're
And
right about
so
that.
it's very interesting. Also, a lot of hairbreadth escapes from the Nazis. Apparently, the Nazis were about to denounce him as a spy and hang him
Well,
before he got out of Berlin.
those are actually my favorite collection of stories. Like the guys who thought the American businessmen who would go to.
Oh, oh, and we wasted our time when we had him back, and we go into a ramble about Nazis. You guys should sue us for criminal negligence for MMA broadcasting. This is brutal. This is brutal. Even I, by my own standards, am appalled by this. Come on back, Eugene. We got to get. I swear, I promise to the gods, no more Nazi talk. We'll get straight to Bigfoot versus Arlovski if Eugene will just come back. Just come back. Edward R. Murrow, spirit of Edward R. Murrow, please, wherever you are. Notice I'm not I'm not praying to Goebbels because he's a bad, awful person, although an excellent broadcaster and propagandist, but used his powers for evil, and that's not what we like around here. We like the good guys like Edward R. Murrow who tried to bring a light to the darkness, and William Shirer who invented radio broadcasting. I've done it, and now, come on, Eugene, come back. Everybody who's watching, join me. Like, pray to whoever you care for, Edward R. Murrow, Jesus, whatever you got, Cthulhu, I don't care. It's all the same to me. Just, if we get together and concentrate, maybe Eugene can come back. Actually, we need to be humbling ourselves before the Google gods, because that's who's coming between us. If America only had broadband Wi-Fi, you know what it is? It's the Internet Slowdown Day. God damn it! That's what it is. It's these do-gooder activists have an Internet Slowdown Day because they're trying to fend off the phone companies' attack on net neutrality. So, look, get out and support net neutrality, or this is what you can look forward to every day. No more care, don't care. And we've got Eugene on the phone. Eugene, I've got you on speaker.
Beautiful. I will not be stopped. I was hoping you would do that. I didn't make a big fight, and we will not be stopped by Google. Screw that.
Yeah, well, you know what I realized? It's Internet Slowdown Day, Eugene. People are protesting the attack on net neutrality by slowing down internet connectivity. So I don't know if we're caught up in that, but I'm blaming it on that anyway. But quick, let's get down to brass tacks. Bigfoot Silva versus Andre Arlovski. Care or don't care? Care. You care big time, even though their last fight 4 years ago was a tedious shit show, and Andre Arlovski's last fight was a completely tedious shit show against Brandon Schaub.
Yeah, that's why I care, because the stakes now, like some pro fighters I used to hang around with, would completely in moments of insane predicaments would say, the stakes are too high. I go, hey man, you just ran out without paying your bill. What are you talking about? The stakes are too high.
Well, are you shocked? Are you shocked and offended, Eugene, that I don't care about this fight?
Really?
Really, I'm bitter. It's a bitter, angry, don't care, because I've seen this fight. I don't think anything's changed. I don't think Andre Arlovski's improved anything. I don't think he has any chance to beat Bigfoot Silva. And to me, it's just a pointless exercise in fight booking and place holding. And I'm deeply offended.
I don't know. Okay, I have something for you. How offended are you at the purported rumors that Scott Coker is pushing to have this Fedor-Randy Couture match happen again?
I'm there, baby. I'll buy tickets. I wouldn't pay pay-per-view, but I'll definitely watch that shit. I mean, I was excited about Renzo Gracie versus Matt Hughes, even though part of me knew that was way past their sell-by date. I mean, what's Randy Couture going to be, 55 by the time they have this fight?
And your point?
Well, what's your temperature on Couture versus Fedor 2015?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess my point is that this is not a bad fight. If you know, based on past performance is no indication of future failures. I'm excited about this fight.
I see. And do you have a pick?
Yeah, I think I'm going to pick Bigfoot.
Well, there you go. That's what I'm saying too. So you're just excited about a fight, even though you know who's going to win already. Come on, admit it. You know who's going to win.
I don't. Arlovski has got. I mean, he's got to do something. He doesn't have to win this fight, but he's got to look better than he did the last fight. That's all he's got to do.
Well, they're not going to be cutting him because he's a guy with a name that Bellator, I'm sure, would gleefully sign up to throw in there against Randy Couture and Fedor and whoever else they got in their heavyweight division. So, what about Alistair Overeem? Should the UFC cut him?
I don't know. I was kind of. I'm thinking that the reason that they signed him was as a Bellator counter move, none of which are necessary now, given my conspiracy landscape. So.
You've truly painted yourself into a corner with that conspiracy, Eugene. Time will tell.
I think it makes good sense. I mean, Arlovski is disposable from a whole lot of different points of view, but he's a name,
That he is, and a former UFC champ. Spike TV has put a lot of Arlovski fights on the air over the years. They'd be happy to have him. So, final thoughts on the card and everything else before we wrap it up.
I care, but I'm an easy care. Like I was telling somebody, I hated Robert Rodriguez's From Dusk Till Dawn, and they were like, yeah. I go, no, you have to understand. I like anything. If it's a movie, I don't give a shit. It takes a lot for me to say. You name a movie that you hated, and I'll say, when Harry Met Sally, man, it wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't that bad, but so for me to say I'm going to hate a fight, it takes a lot, and I don't hate this fight. Ask me after I paid for the fucking Fight Pass whether I hate it, and I might have a different story, but right now, from the vantage point of not having paid for it, I feel pretty good. I'm interested. So.
All right, well, we'll find out on Knuckle Up on Monday how you feel about all that, and tomorrow I'll be back with Zane Simon and Connor Rubish for the vivisection on this card. And then Dallas Winston and Zane Simon will have a breakdown of Bellator 124, which happens Friday night. And then next week there'll be another whole mess of fights, and we'll do the whole process again. Eugene, thank you, and tough luck on the technical difficulties. Hopefully next week we'll have a better outing. So we'll see you next time, Eugene.
My ass. All right, man. We'll see you. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, everybody. Adios, MMA aficionados. Remember, follow me at KidNate on Twitter. Follow Eugene at Eugene S. Robinson on Twitter. Read us both on BloodyElbow.com. You can also read Eugene at Vice's Fightland and at Aussie.com for his non-MMA work. And adios, MMA aficionados. This is KidNate. We'll see you next time. And sorry for all the technical difficulties. But fight the power. Internet slowdown day. We were down with it. Remember, contact your congressman, contact the FCC, tell them we need net neutrality. We don't need Time Warner and Comcast slowing down the internet like this because we need Kid Nate and Eugene in full effect. All right, adios.